all right. We're live. What's the word? July 12th, 2017. What's going on, everybody out there in Facebook land? I'm your boy Jay Adams, and these are my co-hosts.
This is CJ with too much sauce.
And we got a very, very special guest with us today.
Hey guys, I'm Jennifer.
Miss Jennifer is here with us, y'all. We're so glad for everybody tuning in live out there in Facebook land, everybody who's watching us streaming live. Welcome back. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July last week. I got to spend mine out in Mississippi with my grandma.
I was up in Vegas.
Vegas, okay.
Ooh, nice.
You know, I lived holy, I guess.
Well, what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Exactly. I'm not even gonna lie, I was on my couch. It was the best place to be.
Hey, as long as, 4th of July is just a really good day just to kind of just relax and do nothing. And I hope that all y'all had a good one. We had a great time spending it with my family. So grandma and uncle cooked everything, all that good stuff. I had T-bone steaks and ribs. It was absolutely amazing. But I hope everybody out there in Facebook land, y'all had a good one. We're back. What's the word? Where we just chop it up with you guys and talk about what's going on out there in the world. Again, we love God, we love his people, and we're more than just church. A lot of times, so much stuff happens outside of church. So we just want to talk about what's happening outside of church every now and then, okay? So here we are. We're going to run through. We got some good topics to run through with you guys today, so we're going to jump right into it. The first thing we want to talk about is, I'm sure you've seen it in the news, Blac Chyna and Rob Kardashian. Listen, guys, if you don't know, here's the thing. Blac Chyna was granted a temporary restraining order barring Rob Kardashian from coming near her or posting about her online. And this all happened after Rob went on a crazy rant on Instagram. I was watching the updates live. It was kind of crazy. But Rob was posting all this stuff about her, posted this video that she had sent him with another man. And then Rob kind of went off the cliff after that. He started posting.
That was the catalyst. Like, she knew she was wrong for even sending that to that man, because that's what started it all.
Yeah, and the only crazy thing is Rob Kardashian started posting nudes of Blac Chyna. For those of you who don't know, Blac Chyna is a stripper.
Yes.
For me, that's just kind of funny. You post the news of a stripper, but there are laws in 38 of these United States that go against revenge porn, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Rob got hit with that lawsuit. And Blac Chyna put on her "I'm going to court and I'm professional" wig. Y'all saw she threw that wig on. It was like, listen, it's court time. I'm going to show y'all the professional. What's her real name? I think it's Angela or something like that.
Yeah, Angela something.
She went professional on us, man. So my thing is, the whole situation, social media always blows up what's going on in your lives.
Definitely about the Kardashians.
Yes.
They get everything. They get a Snapchat. There's a post every single day just about one of them.
Yeah.
It's always something going on with a Kardashian. Now, I've never even watched the show Keeping Up with the Kardashians or anything like that. Either y'all watch it or what's happening with them.
If it's on the TV.
There's, I just see like better things on TV like Barney or something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not looking to watch it.
Oh, man. So I guess none of us are keeping up with the Kardashians. Yeah. But Blac Chyna deserves an MVP award, like Russell Westbrook or something like that. She's the first person to successfully finesse a Kardashian.
Yeah.
And she did it. Rob is over here crying and weeping, gnashing of the teeth, because since he lost his baby.
Because there's a man sending pictures of somebody on Instagram. I don't hear a lot of men, post this stuff on Instagram, all emotional and stuff. So,
Absolutely. So, it's a whole different twist. Rob got Instagram shut him down, and he was like, "Oh, y'all thought y'all stopped me?" He went on Twitter, and he just went on and on and on. But the crazy thing, I want to know y'all take on this. Blac Chyna says, "Hey, I still want to be, amicable about all this, and I want to she filed a restraining order because she said there's no help in saving the marriage. Rob was physically abusive. but she still wants to have joint custody of Dream Kardashian, their little child, their baby girl together. So y'all tell me, what do y'all think? If she's so scared about him, being physically abusive again, how can she still want him to have joint custody? How you feel about that, Jennifer?
I mean, you got to think about it with the child. I mean, I know she's scared of him. It's not like she can't afford a bodyguard,
Right.
But with the child needs to know both parents. And I don't think that it's fair for the child to only know one parent for, 4 days out the month because it's every other weekend. So I think she's looking out for Dream by saying she wants joint custody.
And I'll say that if all this time we haven't heard anything about, him abusing her before, I'm not sure, I don't keep up on them, but if this is the first time and then all of a sudden she's like, well, I'm looking forward to co-parenting, then evidently maybe there's not a danger really seen.
Right.
So, I mean, hopefully, we don't want to say that anybody's being false about something because, this stuff does happen, domestic violence, but however, something sounds a little...
It sounds a little fishy to me. Black China just really don't want to be a mother out here. She really just like, listen, I don't really want this baby full time because I got stuff I got going on. That wasn't part of the plan, and me and Tiger got other plans going on. That's a whole weird situation.
She said she was known before that. She said
she did.
It don't matter about, Kardashians or whoever they are. I was Black China before. So, yeah. I mean, I never heard of her before, but still, that's what she said.
That's what she said. Okay. Moving on. Another hot topic trending this week in the news, Floyd Mayweather. Now, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Money Mayweather's getting ready to fight Conor McGregor. The fight is set for, I think, August 26th. He's slated to make up to almost $500 million. And here's the crazy thing, y'all. The IRS done came after your boy Floyd Money Mayweather. Okay, Floyd been all on Instagram, all on Snapchat and all these different sites, flaunting his money on the airplanes, and the IRS says, hey, you owe back taxes from 2015. Floyd asked the IRS for a tax reprieve until after the fight. Now, this has a lot of people thinking maybe Floyd is just doing this fight to get this money because he really needs. So maybe the money team really ain't the money team. We don't know what's going on. What you think, CJ?
Even if it is this case, I'm not really mad because of, I don't know how many times I've been waiting for my tax refund to come in from college to do so. So I can't be mad at him. Like, this is what you do and this is what you do because that's how I've done it too. So
I understand. What about you, Jennifer? You in the boxing or what's up?
I mean, just pay your taxes. I mean, that's how I feel about it. I mean, it's now 2017. You ain't paid taxes from 2015. So what happened to 2016 taxes?
He ain't got there yet.
You ain't got there yet?
You know how the stars, I guess the stars, I don't know how that works. The stars just can get.
He need to go ahead and pay. I know he got that money in the bank. And if he don't have the money in the bank, I ain't got nothing to say for him.
But just like, all these black people wait for their tax refund to buy something, that's what he's waiting for. He's waiting for that check just to, pay off his IRS. And I mean, people do it all the time. Like, I think sometimes because of stuff is in the limelight, I think sometimes, we blow it up. But however.
But y'all seen these pictures. Look, we've been putting pictures up here on the screen. Floyd is on planes with like $30,000, $40,000
exactly
in front of him. He was just clowning with 50 Cent, talking about on the phones with money phones to his ear. Talking about, hello, oh, hold on, I got another call. And call it, you got all this money, but can't pay these taxes.
But how many times do you see people, even in the church, that are around all these people who got money, and so they act like they got money, but really, when it comes down to it, they like, well, actually, I went out with my friends, and I just wanted to look like I had everything, and it's just, I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's sometimes a black mindset, where it's like, let me go just do this, look like this, look great, and then later, you deal with all the issues that you have because you didn't know how to manage.
Listen, we out here stunting for the gram. Facebook, y'all who are tuned in and y'all who are listening and watching, y'all let us know what y'all think. Is Floyd Mayweather stunting for the gram? And is this something that a lot of people do? Because I was just talking to somebody the other day. We put all our happy times on Instagram.
Yeah.
All our, I don't know anybody go on Instagram and post a picture of today was a bad day. We don't do it. We always got, when we got the money flowing, you don't post that picture when you down to your last $20, in your wallet. You're not posting that one. So maybe that's what Floyd Mayweather is doing. Maybe it's not just it doesn't matter what your social status is or anything like that, or economic status. We all stunting. Let's just get this word. You don't have to stunt for anybody. I read a quote and it says, "The greatest thief of joy is comparison." We always comparison. Comparison is the greatest thief of joy. We compare to other people what we have. We can be content with what God gave us and how He made us and things like that. But we see somebody else and we want what they got, right? So don't let comparison kill y'all. Okay, don't let it do it. Our final trending topic before we get into our main thing is 444. Jay-Z released 444. Now, I know I'm y'all worship and arts director, worship leader here at Word and Seasons, proud. I'm going to let y'all know. I downloaded the album. I downloaded 444, and I must say that I do believe that this is an amazing album. They're telling us, I got a comment, somebody said our audio is a little bit distorted. Hopefully our text can get that together for us. 444 is an amazing album. It's only 36 minutes long. But to me, Jay-Z has put together some very, very transparent things, and he's put together a piece. I guess the 444 track is a little, what do you call it? A response to Lemonade. And it's 4 minutes, 44 seconds long. He talked about he woke up at 4:44 in the morning, and that's why when he wrote this in this very, very transparent piece. And I think the world was kind of expecting it. Somebody asked me the other day on social media, they say, well, how come, look, James Fortune has an album out right now, and he sold 3,000 units, and he's the #1 gospel artist right now. Wow. Meanwhile, Jay-Z sold 1 million in his first week. And of course, he's #1. So they was like, what's the difference between James Fortune, why he sells 3,000 and can be #1 in gospel, and Jay-Z got to sell 1 million? That's, what y'all think?
I will also say Jay-Z just smart. At the end of the day, looking into this, when he put out his album, he also put it out right at the break of Sprint and I can't remember his other, what's his
Title?
The Title coming together. And so they said that he actually pretty much did it just to get that money going. And even his last album in 2013, he did it around, another event.
Yep.
And so, I mean, he's intentional about his money. I don't listen to his music, but I can say the dude's a smart guy.
Yeah.
And just like Beyonce, they both have a way of getting money out of people, becoming #1, and doing what they need to do. So looking just at that by itself, they're doing some good things. I don't know if it's somebody in their corner or what, but they're doing something.
He's definitely a businessman. How do you come from the streets that he came from and have the money that you have now? You can't just do that just being an artist. He has to be smart about what he does with his money. And so, he was very strategic in how he released this album. I've only heard one song on the album. And that one song, I was just like, wow. Like, he's not playing no games about this music.
Well,
so
one thing that I do like is not a whole lot of, I won't say a whole lot of, it's none of this stuff that we've been hearing in the streets lately, all this, I just want to really. It ain't none of that. None of that going on the album. But Jay-Z is really talking about, I felt like he was trying to give me the keys to financial freedom.
Yes.
Jay-Z said, and there's a song called the O.J. Simpson story.
Yes, that's the one I heard.
Man, listen, so he talks about how he bought a painting for $1 million. He said in 2 years it was worth $2 million. In 3 years it was worth $8 million. He says, I can't wait to give this picture to my children. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, listen, Jay-Z is out here teaching us biblical principles. He's leaving an inheritance, for his children's children. And I think he was like, y'all can call it bougie. I don't care, but I'm just trying to give y'all something. I can't remember the lines, but he's like, I'm trying to give you like a lifetime worth of knowledge for $9.99.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're absolutely right. Because he's like, you want to know what's better than throwing money in the club? Credit.
Yeah.
You know, and he's telling these guys a lot of stuff. We got, as not just black people, just people in general, our priorities are all over the place. You know, we see people in the videos and we want to throw this money and make it rain, but our credit scores are in the trash.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So he's really telling us, like, listen, this is what I'm trying to get y'all to do. And I love the transparency. He's released something else. It's called The Footnotes of 444. It's a video. Got like Kendrick Lamar, Jesse Williams. It's star-studded. Got a Mahershala Ali. It's got all these people in it, and they're really, really being transparent about relationships. If you don't have Tidal, then you can't see it. And I know a lot of people haven't seen it. But that's still part of his business because he's making you go to Tidal and get that. But he's really just transparent about relationships. And I think that even in the world standpoint, we need that. Because you hear about the rappers, all they talking about is who they with and they do this and do that. And we know there's cheating and all kind of foolishness going on. And so when Beyonce came out with Lemonade, everybody was like, oh, maybe it's just artistry. You know, when Jay-Z comes back, no, this was for real. This was my life. And he was like, we built it on nothing. It wasn't 100% truth. And so now he was like, you had to break everything down, and it really, really hurt. And I think it's good for us to kind of see some transparency that's just going on, not just in church, but in the world. And it's so important because so many people, like we said, they stunting for the gram or they stunting and doing this, and we don't know what's real or what's fake anymore. So shout out to Jay-Z and even the Clark sisters. He sampled them. They're on the album. Yeah, there's a song called Family Feud. The Clark sisters are singing on the album. And it's a real good thing. So Jay-Z is teaching us all kind of stuff, even biblical principles in the album. And I think the transparency is good because that moves us into our Dear Church People moment. And we really want to talk about being transparent in the church. Now, this is why our lovely Jennifer is here with us today. The thing we want to talk about today is we got about 7 or more reasons why millennials are leaving the church. Now, I don't know if those of you watching, if you go to church or not, but if you kind of look out in your church, look in your congregation, and you kind of see what is your millennial category, how many millennials are going to your church? When we talking about millennials, I think the age range is between like 18 to like 35 or somewhere between.
I'm like, when they coined the term, I was like, I grew up in the 90s. I ain't no millennial, but I guess I fit into this age range.
Yeah, and even myself, I don't consider myself to be a millennial, but I fit in the age bracket. I feel like I kind of grew up a little older, a little more mature. It feels different. But I'm going to read y'all just a quick little letter that we received, and then we're going to toss to Jennifer and talk about her experiences. But here it says, Dear church people, I want to be head over heels for church, like the unshakable Ned Flanders. That's from The Simpsons, y'all.
Yeah, he's a mentor of mine.
I want to send global skywriting airplanes, tell the life change that happens beneath a steeple. I want to install a police microphone on top of my car and cruise the streets screaming to the masses about the magical utopian community of believers waiting for them just down the street. I desperately want to feel this way about church, but I don't. Not even a little bit. In fact, like much of my generation, I feel the complete opposite. It seems all too often our churches are actually causing more damage than good, and the statistics are showing a staggering number of millennials have taken note. The truth is, no one has asked me why millennials don't like church. Luckily, as a public school teacher, I'm highly skilled at answering questions before they're asked. It's really a gift. So, at the risk of being excommunicated, here's the metaphorical nailing of my own 7 theses to the wooden door of the American millennialist church. Now, our writer has included 7 points about why millennials are leaving the church. But I want to, before we go over those 7, I want to toss to Jennifer. Now, Jennifer, you're a millennial, and you have recently left a church.
Yes.
And I want you to just kind of kick us your experience and let us know what led to that, you leaving this church.
I mean, it's really what the author is just talking about here, you know. when I looked out into the sea of people, there was nobody for me. You know, they had the singles group, but when I looked around the people who I wanted to build relationships, everybody was married, everybody had kids. So there was just really no niche for me. Because even within the singles group, there are people who have kids. And so I'm not trying to, you know, I mean, not to say that I can't hang out with you because you got kids, but we don't have the same lifestyle. You know, your kid is your 100. I'm my 100.
Yeah.
So it was a little hard breaking that barrier. But also because you don't have people around you and that, you can't really build relationships. And to me, a part of being a church is about having relationships, to have that fellowship with people in the church. And if you can't have that, you don't want to be a part of it. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, this letter is everything of why millennials leave the church. They don't feel like they're included. We don't feel like we're represented. And so, yeah, it's almost like if we don't fall into line with the ways of the church and how they are, you're just like, well, you can go find, peace out, you can go find somewhere else to go. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I left.
I can absolutely get it. If I don't feel a connection to something, you know, it's no reason to stay. You know, you can't. So here's number one. We're gonna go down 7 things real quick, or we might have more kind of add in, and we really want y'all out there, Facebook land, tune in too. Let us know what you think. Number one on our letter, it said nobody is listening to us. Oftentimes, like Jennifer just said, when you go to church, the pastor is up and he's, you know, has his own thing, what's going on, and the church has really centered on focusing on the youth, you know, so to speak. And so they got the youth ministry driving, and they got the the youth pastor up there doing his thing. The pastor is usually catering to, you know, you said the married people, the older generation, what's happening. And then we kind of got this gap with the millennials. And so I see more and more churches are kind of adopting it, but it's common to see a senior pastor, a youth pastor, but not real common to see the young adult pastor.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's leaving out the millennials right there. And so the person kind of led us some solutions, what they felt like could happen. Their solution they left said, create outlets to discover needs of millennials and invite them to serve in leadership positions and hire a young adult pastor who can connect with us. And that's big. Like, people are drawn to what they see. Like, how many churches you go to and you see millennials in the leadership position? Like, does that make you want to go to the church? If you walk into a church, what makes you want to come to a church?
You see people like you.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, for me, even like going into any church, and if I see people that are my age doing some of the leadership things, all of a sudden I'm already geared towards that church. But I think the only thing that, you know, even for me, as I've gone into leadership, and many times, is you deal with people who are not millennials, who think you don't know really anything.
Yeah.
So you have to wait. You have to give a great idea, and then you have to get it shut down, and then you have to wait for everybody else to think of that same idea.
Yep.
And then they say that idea, and then you have to be the one to be like, yeah, I didn't say it. I just, you know, I mean, that's a great idea. I don't know where you came up with that. You know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
You just came up with that.
And that's big. And a lot of times, I've been to a lot of churches that have kind of gotten stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
In what they're doing. Now, I myself personally, I've been blessed to do full-time ministry for the past 12 years. So I've seen the ins and outs of church, and I've been to different churches where you can present the idea, and they're like, but we don't do it like that. You know. And one thing that a great pastor used to tell me all the time, and he says, when your church starts talking about what they used to do and how we used to do this and we used to do that, then they're dying.
Yeah.
So and that's a prime example. Even if you're in a relationship, if you with you with a girl or you with a guy, and they saying, remember when we used to do this? Remember when we used to do that? You probably be like, why we don't do that no more?
Yeah.
So it's key signs that things are dying. Number 2, they said millennials are sick of hearing about values and mission statements. Now, when I was a little kid, every Sunday they read the mission statement of the church, and I still can't tell you to this day what it is. Like it was super, super long.
Yes.
And it was on the board. Nowadays we got screens and stuff like that, and sometimes we get on autopilot. Yeah. There's so many times where you read stuff in church and you don't really know it. You just memorized it, and it doesn't really mean anything to you anymore. It's kind of like the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag. I ain't said it in years, but I still know it. But they're just words. It's not heartfelt. It's not coming from the heart.
Yeah.
And millennials are kind of like, listen, why we need to know? I think millennials are more about action.
Yeah, definitely.
We want to see the application of what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And one thing I love about here, Word in Season, church called to bring transformation through life seasons, through discipleship, fellowship, worship, and the Word. Now listen, that's not something that we say all the time here at the church, but it's something that's been practiced. I've heard it said, and now I know it, and it stayed in my heart. Yeah. It's not because we get up here and say it every Sunday, but it's something that even since from day one when I came, I was like, oh, they really mean this. Like I've seen one of the coolest things that I saw Pastor Mac do was actually in Dublin. We were having worship service, and he looks at me and he just says, stop. And I was like, okay, no more songs. We stopped. And he says, I just feel in my heart that we just need to have some fellowship. We need to kind of bond with one another. So we absolutely canned the service and went down to a local little diner. I don't know if it's a diner or whatever, local restaurant. I can't remember the name. I wish I could to shout them. I wish I could remember the name. The Grill. I think it's, the Grill. We went down to the Grill, and Pastor just fed us, and we just fellowship and had a good time. And I mean, how cool is that? Because sometimes, you go to church, you're just like, And it's good to have a pastor who's in tune, somebody who knows what the people need. So, so that's part of that whole fellowshipping thing. I was like, man, that's needed. Like, what pastor Because some pastors like, well, y'all gonna get this word tonight.
People a bit tired. Really?
But okay, so we got it on Facebook. Latoya says, millennials have questions. They want to know why they're not just going to do church as usual because leadership said so.
Oh, yeah.
And that's absolutely true. One thing that I heard, one of my favorite gospel artists turned pastor now is Ty Tribbett. Yeah. He has a church, Live Church, down in Orlando, Florida. On his podcast, he was talking about this millennial generation, and he said, growing up in church, we were always taught that you can't go do this, you can't have sex before you're married, you can't do drugs, and just those things that I listed. Truth is, you can't do those things.
Yeah.
We're not gonna take no polls on y'all or anything on Facebook out there who did it, but the truth is, you can do those things.
Yeah.
But they teach us in the church that you can't. So a lot of times, what millennials find out is when we're taught something, if it's not the truth, it's tested.
Yeah.
And so we go out and test, oh, that wasn't true. I can do this. Yeah. So instead of teaching millennials and beating in their heads that you can't do this, we need to tell them the whys. Tell them why it's not good to do this. What does the Bible tell us about this? Instead of just saying, don't do this, don't do that. I'll never forget, I was a kid. I had one of the preachers, I'm gonna be transparent. I had a sex ed class. They gave us condoms. I put the condom in my backpack, never used it, left it in the backpack. Left my backpack lying around in church. One of the preachers picked up the bag. Whose bag is this? Went in the bag, pulled it out, sees a condom, and he was asking everybody around, whose bag is this? Whose bag is this? Whose bag is this? Oh, that's my bag. Son, what you doing with this in your bag, son? I forgot this thing was even in there. Like, I had no clue that this was still in there.
He thought you already had a girl that was pregnant.
And so, but his thing is, you're not supposed to be having sex. And I'm like, I'm not having anything. I'm not. But when people, even as little kids, when we tell little kids don't do it, they're gonna try us.
Yep.
And it's just, we're born into this sinful nature. We're gonna try it because it's curiosity. That's the way that our DNA, our Dana, has made us, and we're just curious to find out what's going to happen because you said no. Now,
the only thing that corrects that is relationship. You know,
absolutely.
We can't just keep being taught like, you know, what we can't do. But when you're taught relationship, then there's an idea of I love God this much, I'm not going to do this. However, I feel like so many times, you know, we just go into this can't do attitude, and so most people. I remember even for me going into college, I had to really think. Am I really going to have a relationship with Jesus? Like this whole time I've been told what I can't do. I've been told what the church looks like.
Yeah.
I've been told this, but nobody's really taught me so much about relationship by itself. And so now I'm going into college thinking, am I going to have a relationship really where I really want to love God this much that I decide not to do these things?
Yeah.
And so, but I had to learn that by myself, it felt like.
And college, and that's where most millennials, that's where that age starts. They're young, 18 and in their 20s, some, you know, close to 30. But that's when you're figuring out life.
Yeah, you're really trying to find your way. I mean, that's almost an opportune time to reach out to people because they're trying to find their way. They're trying to find their purpose in life. And so when you introduce the gospel to them, they're like, wow.
Exactly.
This is the way, you know? And so if there's nobody there to nurture that age group, guess where they're going to go?
Yeah.
Listen, you're absolutely true. And so I'll just read what the writer's solution. Stop wasting time on religious mumbo jumbo and get back to the heart of gospel. If you have to explain your mission and values to church, it's overly religious and much too complicated. We're impressed with actions and service.
Yeah.
Number 3, it says we're tired of you blaming the culture. And I think that's how many times in church do we hear that? We hear a lot of people talking about it's that old rap music, you know, that got all into you, you know, and it's that BET, it's that MTV, and I smile and laugh, but I will say that there is truth to that because we always have to be mindful of the gates to our souls with our eyes and our ears and our hearts. So we have to be, the Bible teaches us that we need to be mindful of those things. Even as a kid, my mama wouldn't let me watch certain TV shows.
Yeah.
My mom wouldn't let me watch The Simpsons growing up. She's like, Bart Simpson, he bad. He disobey his parents all the time. Can't watch that. I couldn't watch Rugrats. I said, Mom, why I can't watch Rugrats? Let me tell you why. I love my mom, Lily Denise Adams, if she's watching. But I couldn't watch Rugrats. Why I'm going to let you watch other little kids being bad? Disobeying their parents. You ain't going to get that in your spirit.
See, Chucky was my favorite person. He didn't try to be bad. They made him be bad.
Hey, you right.
I mean, it was hilarious to me. But I love my mother. And some of those teachers were absolutely true. But one of the things that I do know is what the church tends to do, I feel, is they try to shield us, and they shield us from reality sometimes. Yeah. I grew up with a friend, and, you know, I left and went to a different church, and, you know, I experienced life, and he was sheltered, still in the church. They hid him from things that are happening in life. So then when we grow up older, I was like, man, I've had different experiences, and my views and outlooks are different, and you just don't know what's happening out here. And I felt like a kind of disconnect. But CJ, I know, you know, your parents, ministers in the church. How do you feel like the church how do you feel it kind of shapes you growing up? And do they try to blame it on culture?
Well, you know, I grew up overseas at church for 9 years, and so I was around all the leaders' kids, and my parents were elders and ministers there as well. And so it's different to see, like, I was able to graduate, I was able to come back, my brother's still in school, everything else. But a lot of my friends that were sheltered and their parents didn't let them do anything, they went buck wild. They got a baby on the way. They got this other baby on the way. They now married. Now they divorced. I mean, it's like so many different things. And this is all that's happening to people that is below 25 years old. So, you know, just thinking about in just 5 to 10 years, all this stuff has happened to your life because of your parents that sheltered you all the way up till you were 18. Mm-hmm. And now it's backfired on them. And so I'm definitely not a fan of blaming the culture.
Yeah, and I think it's back to what Jay said. It's like, you know, we're curious by nature. And like we just said, around that age, we're trying to find out who we are. So if you sheltered me my whole life And now I step out, I'm on the campus of UGA, feeling good. And I step out and I see these things that people are doing that I've never known, I've never heard of, I've never seen. Now I want to be a part of that because I've never known of it. But I think parents in the church have to realize, once again, that we are of the world. I mean, we, know about worldly things. And so just because we are of it doesn't mean that we have to be in it.
Absolutely.
And so, but you still have to know what's going on around you. You can't shelter somebody to the point where now I don't even know what's going on. Yeah. So
I know you're gonna read some of the solutions, but even for my family, my mom, we sitting on the couch, and my mom's like, "Have you been doing this?" So, or she'll just talk about sex like it's like a common conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, and even though now I was embarrassed, I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are we even talking about this? We watching The Simpsons." I'm like, "Why are we talking about this?" But I will say, at that point, it made it so that everything wasn't taboo, so I can easily talk to her about so many different things, and my dad about so many different things. So that when it came to that point in my life, I'm not sitting there confused and wondering what's going on.
Exactly.
Because they just talked about it outright.
And I'm gonna jump down because our time is running out. So I'm gonna jump down. That brings us to another point. The millennials say we want you to talk to us about controversial issues because no one else is. And like we said before, people in their 20s and 30s are making the biggest decisions of their lives, y'all. Yes. Career, education, relationships, so many different things. Marriage, sex, finance, children. There's so much stuff. What's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? And they need somebody to consistently speak to them and speak truth in every single one of those areas to them. And I think a lot of times in church, we kind of shy away from those things like, oh, I don't know if we could talk about that, or, oh, watch this or watch that. Because how many times you've been in church and they're like, oh, y'all don't want me to go there. No, we do. Yeah, we really do. And I need you to go there because that was just on my mind this week. And I was dealing with that, and I need you to go there. And I think that it sounds good for, the preacher or the teacher, whoever's doing it, when they say, y'all don't want me to do this. But in reality, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's what it is. In reality, it's just they might be afraid to step out and do that thing. And so what do you think would be a solution for Jennifer, for people, for just preachers and people in general in church, to talk about controversial issues? Like, what's the way to do it?
I mean, okay, let's be for real. Controversial issues are still sensitive issues.
Yeah.
So this is not something that on Sunday morning we need to be like, y'all, we about to have a sex ed class.
You're right.
Like, that's not the way to go about it. But I do think that, once again, going back to having relationships and having an intimate discussion about it needs to be done. We need to educate, our youth, not just, the youth like the high schoolers, but our millennials, on these controversial topics. Because again, if they don't learn it from us, if they don't learn it from the church, if they don't learn word and scripture behind it, they're going to go to the world and they're going to find out that way. And then that's going to be their truth.
Yeah.
And that's going to be their understanding. And so it definitely needs to be done, but it doesn't need to be done on a large scale.
What you think, Steve?
I think I agree and disagree. I would say that it can be done on a large scale, but I think the issue, the real reason that it can't be done is because there's no transparency. I guess a lot of people are just not transparent about their lives. I think that's the reason why they don't want to go into those conversations, because they don't want to talk about what happened in their life. And so, and then what happens is, as a church, we start to be judgmental about certain things because no one's being transparent.
Yeah.
So now, like, and I've even seen it where, somebody would talk about, well, God decided to do this for me. He bought me a car and got this and everything else, and everyone's like applauding. But then the other person's like, I was dealing with depression. Everybody's like, there's no sound at all because of people can't deal with people being transparent. And that's what we need, is because of there's somebody that's dealing with depression now in the audience, and now they just looked at the whole church treated that way. And so now they don't want to talk about it.
Wow.
And so now they're put in a darker position because they're wondering, like, the church will not accept me. because of if I talked to them about my depression, she just did, and they just looked at her like she was crazy. Like,
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is just, people not being transparent about their lives, and that's not going to fix anything because there's a lot of things going on in the church. However, when no one talks about it, everybody just thinks, oh, everything's perfect. And if I'm not perfect, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
That's big. And I think to quote Future, sometimes in the church we need to take the mask off.
Yes.
Amen. There's too many masks in the church.
In the church.
And we need to take the mask off. Because I think, just like you said, CJ, people aren't being real. And when somebody does talk about a topic, it's like, we kind of get startled. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know about all that. But, I mean, the church should be the place. The Bible tells us to confess our sins one to another. Mm-hmm. But how many times you got somebody come up to you, if they start confessing, they say, you're like, this person is crazy. Oh, my God, do you know what they did? And I think also because of that, because we can't handle what's happening with other people, instead of praying for our brother or for our sister, we start to talk about our brother and our sister. And then you get what we call church hurt. Yep. And so, because somebody done talked about me in the church and they told my business and they exposed me. And so now I'm hurting in the church. And now I feel some type of way about the church and I don't want to go back because all they do is talk about people. Now I label the whole church. All they do is talk about people in that church because I told them what happened to me and they just talked about me. And they didn't pray for me. They didn't do nothing. And so we as a church, we got to be mindful of these things. We got to do better. I think even, Jennifer, you shared your story that the church, was married people and there was nobody really connected with you. I think we could take from one of the greatest things that happened to me when I went to Hampton University is as soon as I got on campus, they connected me with a big sister, with a big brother. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this person looked out for me. And they was like, listen, as long as I'm here, I'm going to look out for you. And so they trained my whole freshman year. If I needed to go to Walmart, they drove me. If I needed to go to the store, I could call them and they were there. I mean, dependable. And this was somebody that I didn't know from when I first got there. But they just said, this is your big brother. Shout out to Carl Gray, my big brother at Hampton. With anything that I needed, he was there. And Kamisha Boatwright, they were there, my big sister. Anything that I needed, give me a ride, wherever I need some money, need some food. And I think as a church, if we adapt that same mentality, we bring in with the millennials, listen, let me lead you, let me guide you, because I know you lost. I know this is new to you. You may not have grown up in the church. You may need some training, some teaching. This is something that you really need. We got to be able to be willing to do that.
And try to bring someone close to your age. I bet you that the two people are close to your age, so it's not like I get to the church, I'm 24, and you connect me with a 54-year-old.
Exactly.
He's gonna teach you all about church. He's gonna teach you how to be single. He's gonna teach you no.
But you know what? But there's three things that I think will work. I use this as manly principles, but I think it can work for anybody. But there's three people that I feel like you need in your life. You need somebody who's gonna mentor you. Yeah. You need somebody who you can mentor. That'll be your mentee. Because when somebody's pouring into you, you're always going to have some type of, accountability to somebody, and they're going to check up on you. When you're pouring into somebody else, you got to watch what you're doing, because they're always watching you, and they're going to be like, hey, what you do? What about this? And they're asking you questions. And then you got to have somebody that's that side by side person, and the side by side person is the one you can be totally transparent with, and they know the real you. They know the you who's, sometimes you may be cussing sometimes because you done got upset. They know the real you, not the you the masked you that you put in church. They know the real you. Yeah. So I think those three people are valuable, and even for millennials, if we could find that in the church, it's something great. Like I said, I grew up in church, and even when I was at a church in Hampton, Virginia, I was at a church full of older people, and me and my wife were the youngest married couple. And these older couples adopted us, and they would take us into their home, invite us over, and we're just sitting there gleaning from them. We're the same age as their children. Yeah. But we sitting at the dinner table with them. It was kind of uncomfortable in the beginning, but we learned so much, from them and from their conversations and things to do. We're running out of time, so the last thing we're gonna do, last one. I wish we could have covered them all, y'all out there, but we way over time. We only was gonna go 30 minutes, but we pushing an hour right now. The last one is the church is failing to adapt. And listen, there's a quote here that they put by Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton once said, "The price of doing the same old thing is far higher than the price of change." We do the same old thing over and over again, and it costs us more than to actually change. And it's something about changes. We're resistant in change just in general. I remember when Obama came out, 2008, change you can believe in. But people don't really want change.
No, not at all.
We don't really, like, if you change up the way that I do stuff, even me, like, I do music and I'm used to doing a certain way. You come and change it up, I'm like, okay, I don't really know about that. But it's just, even whatever you do, whatever's personal for you, we're kind of resistive in change that we're doing. But I think we really need to take a look at what's happening in churches. I don't think millennials, like Jennifer said before, we're not looking for the flashy lights and stuff like that. That stuff is cool, but we're looking for sincerity in what's coming on in this generation. And sometimes we just need to admit that, hey, we don't have it, and we need to seek the hands of the millennials that we do have in the church and get their input, see what's going on with them. I'm going to get y'all closing thoughts on this, and we got to get out of here. CJ, go ahead. Tell us about failing to adapt in the church. What do you think we could do about it?
Like you said, I think a big part of it is the relationship factor. I feel like, a lot of people, at least as I look at my friends and stuff like that, I know that we only became close because we had a relationship. It didn't matter what I had. It didn't matter that I was a military child. It didn't matter that they grew up in East St. Louis. I mean, it didn't matter what our lifestyle situation was. It was relationship. And so that's how my friends have made it so long, even the ones that I met in college. And so I think a lot of things, adapting to just how to work in our relationships, how we deal with each other. I know millennials were a little bit different because we always on Facebook. So we always, we always looking for some type of affirmation, and we're always on Snapchat for this. And so I think our values have changed in some ways. And I think a lot of times it's hard for people to deal with that, but, bear with us. And then, and don't just think that I'm going to do this stuff my way and then you're going to get the same results that you really want, because you're not going to get any results.
Right.
Yeah. I think, first off, you have to recognize that you're failing to adapt. And I think that's a problem with some churches these days, is that they're okay with being where they are. We're okay with us not, having millennials, and we just have the youth group and we're doing things the same way and things like that. So if you don't even recognize that, you're not going to want the change.
Yeah.
And then when you do have the change, you need to seek advice from the thing that you want to change. So if you want to bring millennials, you gotta get some advice from millennials. You can't go to, your mentor and say, well, how do I bring millennials in? He's not a millennial, so he doesn't know.
Right.
And then once you receive that, receive that advice, you have to be open to it. Because too many times people will be like, well, what'd you do to do that? And you'll give them the advice, and they're like, I ain't doing that.
Right.
He'd be like, I'm not giving you no more advice.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't listen the first time.
So, being open to receive it and then implementing it, So, if you're not, I think the first step really is just recognizing that you need to change. And then I think everything else will kind of fall into place once you do all those steps. But, yeah.
I think my last point is I'm going to say this. The church, we're not changing Jesus Christ at all. Nah. Bible tells us he's the same yesterday, today, and forevermore.
Exactly.
So I think we need to change in order to gain the millennials. We change our approach to Jesus. Same Jesus, different packaging. Yeah. I've even seen things like emoji Bible that people are doing, and I can relate. You got the angel emoji, you got the sun and the stars, and that's something, we laughing, but you would probably, if they had an app, you'd be like, you know what, and you would share the scripture because it'd be funny. And now you're sharing scripture on Facebook, on Instagram, or anything like that. So we want our same Jesus, but different packaging. Listen, the scripture tells us, our last word, and we're done right here. The scripture tells us, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it. That's Bible, y'all. So if you train them what they're supposed to do, it's going to be in them. They're not going to change. Yeah. But they got to be trained. They don't need to be preached at. Yeah. They don't need to be beat or talked about. Got to be trained. Okay? Listen, that's our time for today. We've had a wonderful topic. We could talk about this. We could talk about this all night long. I gotta say this because Pastor Mac's on here. He says he closes his eyes and all he hears is LaToya Clemens. But Jennifer, we thank you for being our special guest.
Thank you for
today.
Having me.
Once again, I'm Jay Adams, Jennifer, CJ. We thank y'all for tuning in. What's the word? Don't forget to email us with your topics, with your questions, WTW@wordandseason-ga.com. We love you and we like you, and we'll see y'all next week. All right.